Hello my bookish lovelies, Kira here, and today we have a book haul. I haven't done one since I believe I did for November, but I haven't done one for Christmas and I haven't done one for January, so I decided to go ahead and just kind of combine them, which means that there's going to be quite a bit in here. I actually did pretty well with purchasing books. I didn't buy a ton of books, less than normal because of Christmas coming up and everything. I'm just going to go ahead and get into the books that I purchased because I'm really excited about them. There are a lot here, and some of these are Christmas gifts, so there's kind of just a lot intermixed here. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first one that I got is Infinity Sun by Adam Silvera. Who will live forever and who will die trying. This is about two brothers. One has magical abilities, the other one does not. People who in this world, I believe, who have magical abilities are kind of looked down upon, and because they're looked down upon, they get stigmatized. The brother without the abilities, I believe he kind of defends the brother with the abilities. I don't really I know that this was one of my anticipated releases. I've heard mixed things about this so far from what people have been reading it. It came out, I believe, towards the beginning of January. I'm still interested in it. I liked the other book that I read by Adam Silvera, which is They Both Die at the End, so I'm really curious to see. This is his debut as far as fantasy goes, so we'll see how I like this. Another book that I got is Woven in Moonlight, a novel by Isabel Ibanez. I was kind of looking at this. I saw this around. I don't know a ton about this. This actually came in my Fairy Loot box, and I really was very excited about this. This is a gorgeous copy of this, but I'm going to read it to you because I have no idea exactly what it's about. I saw it around, but it looked really pretty, and I knew I was going to be getting it in this book box. A lush tapestry of magic, romance, and revolution, drawing inspiration from Bolivian politics and history. Ximena is a decoy condesa, a stand-in for the last remaining Illustrian royal. Her people lost everything when the Super Atak used an ancient relic to summon ghosts and drive the Illustrians from La Ciudad. Now, Ximena, motivated by her insatiable thirst for revenge and her rare ability to spin a thread from moonlight, when Antok demands the real Condesa's hand in marriage, it's Zima's duty to go in her stead. She relishes the chance, and Illustrian spies have reported that Antok's no longer carrying his deadly relic. If Azima can find it, she can return the true Aristocrata to her rightful place. She hunts for the relic using her weaving ability to hide messages and tapestries for the resistance. But when a masked vigilante, a warm-hearted princess, a thoughtful healer, challenge Ximena, her mission becomes more complicated. There could be a way to overthrow the Insuper without starting another war, but only if Ximena turns her back on revenge and her Condesa. Wow. Okay, so that's the first time I've actually read the synopsis to this, and I am stoked. That sounds amazing. So the next book that I got is The Storm of Life by Amy Rose Capetta. This is actually the sequel to A Brilliant Life, which I read a couple years ago, and it's kind of a fun, kind of Romanesque fantasy, YA fantasy, and it basically is all about gender fluidity. So there's a couple characters in here, a couple of our main characters that can go back and forth between being male and female, and I loved that kind of dynamic, and I really loved the first one, so when I saw that they were coming out with the second one, I really just had to get it because I am so stoked for this. This is, I don't think it's supposed to be anything more than a duology. I think this is the last book that they're coming out with as far as I know, but I'm excited. Gender fluid characters, anytime. Next book is The Sisters Grimm, Mina Van Prague, which I got in my Illumicrate unboxing from January, I believe, and this book is absolutely gorgeous. It's got the beautiful sprayed edges, it's got this beautiful cover on it. It's printed directly on all of this, but it's really just absolutely gorgeous. And basically this is a story of four sisters Grimm, daughters born to different mothers on the same day, each born out of bright white wishing and black-edged desire. In 33 days, the sisters will meet their father in a place they go to when they dream. Only then will they discover who they truly are and what they can truly do. Then they will fight to save their lives and the lives of those they love. Sounds so amazing. So another book that I got that I wasn't sure, I'm not sure if I've hauled this book yet, but I don't think I did because I got it in the last couple of months. I heard Bowties and Books talking about this, After the Flood by Cassandra Montag, and I read the synopsis over a month ago, so I don't quite remember what it was about, but it says, an investigative and riveting epic saga after the flood signals the arrival of an extraordinary new talent. A little more than a century from now, our world has been utterly transformed. After years of slowly overtaking the continent, rising floodwaters have obliterated America's great coastal cities and then its heartland, leaving nothing but an archipelago of mountaintop colonies surrounded by a deep expanse of open water. Stubbornly independent Myra and her precocious 7-year-old daughter Pearl fish from their small boat, the Bird, visiting dry land only to trade for supplies and information. This really sounds a little bit like Waterworld, to be honest. For 7 years, Myra has grieved the loss of her oldest daughter, Ro, who was stolen by her father after a monstrous deluge overtook their home in Nebraska. Then, in violent confrontation with a stranger, Myra suddenly discovers that Ro was last seen in a far-off encampment near the Arctic Circle. Throwing aside her usual caution, Myra and Pearl embark in a perilous voyage into the icy northern seas, hoping against hope that Ro will still be there. On their journey, Myra and Pearl join forces with a larger ship, and Myra finds herself bonding with her fellow seekers who hope to build a safe haven together in the dangerous new world. I'm going to leave it at that because it really does kind of sound like a little bit like Waterworld, but like it sounds amazing, and from what I heard, Bow Ties and Books absolutely love this. I got really excited. So this is a book that I've been trying to hunt down, and I couldn't find it anywhere, but I happened to find it at Target, and I was really surprised because nobody else had it. And it's been like out for quite a while, and I realized that I wanted it because it's just such a pretty book, and I'm trying to get like more into getting collector's editions too because I actually really kind of liked this series. Granted, it's not my favorite series out of all the books that she's written, but I still really liked it. So it was the 10th anniversary edition of City of Bones. This has beautiful foiled edges. I don't really think I need to talk too much about this because it is all over the place, but it's part of the Mortal Instruments series. It's the very first book in the series, and we have Clary and Jace, who are shadow hunters, and shadow hunters kind of see things like that most people don't. They see like a different world, they see like extra beings, and Clary and Jace are both half angels, half human, and they're descendant from a long line of shadow hunters. That's all I'm going to leave it at because, you know, a lot of people know what the series is about, but I'm really excited to have this. This book is so pretty. Another book that I ended up getting is Rules for Vanishing by Kate Alice Marshall. I've seen like this around quite a bit, and I've heard it's really good. This is a YA thriller, I believe. It says, once a year a road appears in the forest, and at the end of it the ghost of Lucy Gallows beckons. Lucy's game isn't for the faint of heart. If you win, you escape with your life, but if you lose, dun dun dun. So yeah, I've heard a lot of really amazing things about this. I really am really excited about this because I've really gotten kind of into thrillers a little bit more. So with the rise of the new Star Wars movie, I kind of like really was vibing like with the Star Wars. If you guys saw my last wrap up that I did for December, I talked about like reading a couple of the original canon Star Wars books, and so like I'm kind of like branching out like and kind of exploring like more of the Star Wars universe because I'm really kind of curious like now, and after like the last movie came out, Rise of Skywalker, I kind of wanted to, you know, kind of get more into the original canon. With the new 3 movies, the original canon isn't like really much of a thing anymore. Basically what Disney has done like with the new trilogy, they've kind of messed everything up like in the original canon. Like most of that stuff is technically like not relevant anymore because it is with an older canon. But see, I was always a big fan of the original 3 movies, so for me it's still very relevant because there's so much literature out there on the original 3 movies. And even the movies, episodes 1, 2, and 3, and when I talk about originals, I am talking about 4, 5, and 6, like the ones like that came out first, like the ones like that were out before any of the other ones. But even like the episodes like 1 through 3 still kind of followed the original canon. With episodes 7, 8, and 9, we have a completely different canon since Disney took it over. So I've kind of like wanted to explore like maybe like a little bit more like with their canon, but I'm still very nostalgic on the old canon. So this newer canon, this is a Resistance Reborn Star Wars. This is what takes place just before Rise of Skywalker. I decided to go ahead and get this because I kind of do like want to dig into some more of the Star Wars universe, especially because I want to see like more of like what they're doing with the expanded universe outside of like the original canon. I want to see what they're trying to do with the new canon. So I saw this and I was really excited. This kind of talks about before the saga ends, before the Rise of Skywalker, the Resistance must be reborn, which is kind of the tagline for this. The other Star Wars book that I ended up getting is Dooku, Jedi Lost, by a screenplay by Kevin Scott. I was really excited about this because we see Count Dooku, who is actually, I believe he was Yoda's apprentice for a while, and he ends up turning into the dark side. And this kind of talks about how he gets to that point, like where he is part of the dark side. This actually is kind of interesting. This entire book is written like a screenplay, and I don't know like what the relevance of that is. I don't know like if they've ever actually done a screenplay for this, but I'm very, very curious to know what this is like. And so I found this at Target and I'm really excited because, you know, Star Wars. So I ended up getting quite a few mass market paperback Star Wars books as well. Between, some of them were from Christmas and some of them I ended up finding on Target.com because they had another deal like where it was buy two get one free. And these were mass market paperbacks, so like they were not expensive at all. So I basically got 3 paperbacks for like 14 bucks, I think, like, or less, which is really good. This is another book like that talks about Count Dooku and how he ends up going into becoming a Sith, and you know, I'm very, very fascinated by this. It takes place during the Clone Wars. Also, I read the Thrawn trilogy. I ended up finding like this one right here. This was part of the deal. It's Survivor's Quest, and it's got Luke Skywalker and Mara Jade. And this is actually part of the duology for Thrawn, because there is a Thrawn duology that takes place after the Thrawn trilogy, and this is one of the 2 books in that duology. Since I read the Thrawn trilogy, I really, really love it, and I'm really very curious because like I hear some things about like this that if I told you they would be spoilers, but I love Luke Skywalker so much. So these right here, these are the Legacy of the Force, and they're all by different authors. The Legacy of the Force actually takes place with the children of Luke Skywalker and Leia and Han. So you actually get to see what they become like in their adult years. And there's actually a character in here called Ben Skywalker. Once again, if I tell you anymore, it's going to be a giant spoiler, but like I always like wondered like where like in the new trilogy like they got the name Ben from. I wondered like if they had taken it from any books or any book trilogies or series or anything. And the Legacy of the Force is actually where they got Ben, the name Ben, from, except Ben was not a Solo. Ben was a Skywalker, which says he's probably Luke's son. That's pretty much what I know. These are not in order. We have Inferno, and that's by Troy Denning. We have Betrayal by Aaron Alliston. We also have Tempest by Troy Benning, and we have Bloodline by Karen Travis. There's about, I want to say like there's a lot of books in this series, and these are not, I don't have all the books and I don't have them in order. I pretty much just tried to get like what I could that was already on sale so that I can kind of fill in the spaces between later. So these ones I got from my parents for Christmas, and these are all of the Knights of the Old Republic, and I'm really excited about that. So we have the Knights of Revan by Drew Karen, and then we also have The Old Republic Deceived by Paul S. Camp. That focused. Hopefully that'll focus here in a second. There we go. And then we also have, these are also, I believe, like Knights of the Old Republic. We have the Darth Bane trilogy, which are all written by Drew Caperson, which is also the author of The Old Republic. Knights of Revan, well, it says this is actually called Revan, but I believe it's probably going to be circulating around the Knights of Revan. So I'm not sure like what order like these are in, but this is the trilogy for Darth Bane. Have Path of Destruction. We have Rule of Two. And we have Dynasty of Evil. So that's pretty much the Star Wars books that I got. I do read a little bit of mass market paperback, and given the fact like that all these books are so old now, like that they pretty much only come in mass market paperback. It's not my favorite format, but I'll deal with it. I don't really care because it's Star Wars and it's the original canon, it's not the new one. I have a few other books here. One of them I got from Preorders. So I ended up getting Blood Heir by Amy Wenzel. This is the American copy, and it's a princess with a deadly gift, a con man with no past and no future, an empire spiraling into chaos, and it's time to choose a side. This cover is just so absolutely gorgeous. I love everything about this cover. It is just brilliant. Like all the shiny and everything. I just love the way this looks. this was a book like that was actually pushed back as far as release date goes, and now that we have it, I am so excited. I really want to get to this soon. I think this is actually part of a series like this, so I may not be rushing out to read this one as quickly as maybe some of the other standalone books that I have or completed series, but I do definitely want to get to this. I think it's just going to be awesome. So some of the books like that I got for Christmas also, we ended up getting Shadow Frost by Coco Ma, and this is an Asian fantasy, a YA Asian fantasy. In the kingdom of Axria, a darkness rises. Some call it monster, laying waste to the villagers and their homes. Some say it is an invulnerable demon summoned from the deepest abyss of the immortal realm. Many soldiers from the royal guard are sent out to hunt it down. No one has ever returned. Oh, it sounds so good. I've seen this around quite a bit, but I'm really so happy because I just think it's going to be another incredible Asian fantasy book. Another book that I got is Fountains of Silence by Ruta Septus, and I've seen this around. This is a historical fantasy, and I have not read her other book, but I really liked the premise for this one. Once again, like, I read most of these synopses like over a month ago, and it's like with so many books like that are under my radar, sometimes it's really hard to keep track of what each book is about. This takes place in Madrid, 1957, under the oppressive dictatorship of General Francisco Franco. Under the oppressive dictatorship of General Francisco Franco, Spain is hiding a dark secret. Meanwhile, tourists and foreign businessmen flood into Spain under the welcome promise of sunshine and wine. Among them is 18-year-old Daniel Matheson, the son of an oil tycoon who arrives in Madrid with his parents, hoping to connect with the country of his mother's birth through the lens of his camera. Photography and fate introduce him to Ana, whose family's interweaving obstacles reveal the lingering grasp of the Spanish Civil War, as well as chilling definitions of fortune and fear. Daniel's photographs leave him with uncomfortable questions amidst shadows of danger. He is backed into a corner of difficult decisions to protect those he loves. Lives and hearts collide, revealing an incredibly dark side to the sunny Spanish city. So excited for that as well. It's so beautiful. I love, one of the things like that really like made me like want this physical book was the cover. So another book that I got for Christmas is Queen of Air and Darkness. This is the third book in the Dark Artifices series. I haven't read any of these so far, but I wanted to get the last book first so that if I wanted to I could just breeze right through them. These books are massive, but the writing's not really small, so like these books will probably be something like that I'll be able to fly like right through, but these books are so huge. So this is definitely going to be like a time like when I'm going to make a commitment. I know Chain of Gold's coming out, so I kind of was hoping to get to that before then, but realistically I probably won't. I just need to sit down like and kind of, you know, like prioritize like these books at some point, but I'm really excited because I really love Infernal Devices, and so like I really like wanted to read these before we got into the Chain of Gold, because I believe it's going to be picking up like with some more of the characters from Infernal Devices, and so excited for that. So I really want to get into these. I actually read the Shadowhunters books, like pretty much all of them, before I started my booktube channel. The year that I read 80 books, which was in 2018, before I started my booktube channel, which was actually late 2018, I actually read all of those before I started my channel, so I didn't like really talk about those very much, but I have read them, and pretty much I've read most of them besides the short story collections, and this trilogy is what I have yet to get to. Another book that I ended up getting, which I received in another Fairy Loot box, which I believe was the, I think I primarily got it because I knew that there was going to be an arc in it, but I didn't specifically know which one. I kind of suspected, but I think I got that one in the December Fairy Loot box. I'm not a regular subscriber to them, but like when I see a box like that I think I'm really going to enjoy, like I end up getting it. So I ended up getting Wicked As You Wish by Rin Chipeko, and this book's actually coming out in March. It's, yeah, on sale March 2020. This is actually like an early release. It's paperback, and I've heard wonderful, wonderful things about this. It's the first book in 100 Names for Magic, book 1. And it says, many years ago, the magical kingdom of Avalon was left desolate and encased in ice when the evil Snow Queen waged war against the powerful country. Its former citizens are now refugees in a world mostly devoid of magic, which is why the Crown Prince and his protectors are stuck in Arizona. Yeah. Prince Alexei and his sole survivor of the Avalon royal family is hiding in a town so boring that magic doesn't even work there. Few know his secret identity, but his friend Talia is one of them. Talia doesn't mind. She has secrets of her own, namely that she's a spellbreaker, someone who negates magic. Then hope for their abandoned homeland reignites when a famous creature of legend, Avalon's most powerful weapon, the Firebird, appears for the first time in decades. Alex and Talia unite with a ragtag group of new friends, journey back to Avalon for a showdown that will change the world as they know it. Sounds so much fun. I'm hoping to get to this before it comes out so that I can actually do like a review on it. I don't know if it's coming out at the beginning of March or towards the end, but I'm gonna try really hard. There's so many books I want to read. So some of these books I actually got like towards the end of January. One of these is Dead Astronauts by Jeff Vandermeer. Guys, I really wanted to read this overall, but I also ended up getting this because I wanted to show you guys like how beautiful this book is. I didn't realize like how beautiful this book was. If it hadn't been so beautiful, I probably would have gotten an audiobook. But let's go ahead and like, we have these beautiful bright pink pages, right? The Sun papers. And then we have this. This is a science fiction book, but I didn't like realize just how beautiful what was underneath. And it's just so perfect. I don't know, like I was sold because of how beautiful this book was. And I wanted, like I said, I wanted to read it to begin with, but like I probably would not have gotten it in the physical copy if I was not so enamored with this. The front of this, it's kind of like weird because it says the blue fox shone into the desert air like a burning flare drawn down across the desolate sky. The blue fox sang there, looked down upon all, shone down upon all, in grief and love and ecstasy, all for all who lay below. Faded with the light, was gone, but not gone. A messiah blue fox who slips through warrens of time and space on a mysterious mission. A homeless woman haunted by a demon who finds the key to all things in the strange journal. 3 ragtag rebels waging an endless war for the fate of the world against a ruthless corporation, a raving madman who wanders the desert lost in the past, besieged by his own creation, and an invisible monster whose name he has forgotten and whose purpose remains hidden. Jeff Vandermeer's Dead Astronauts presents a city with no name of its own where, in the shadow of the all-powerful company, lives human and otherwise converging in terrifying and miraculous ways. At stake, the fate of the future, the fate of the earth, all the earth. So it sounds just... It's a fantastical science fiction book that seems like it's going to be very artistically portrayed, and I am here for it. I think this is going to be fabulous. I ended up buying that one myself because I ended up finding it, and I'm just so here for it. So another book that I ended up buying because I've been looking at it for a while, and Target had it, was On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vogue. And this is another like one that's gotten really good reviews. This is supposed to be extremely hard-hitting. I believe it's fiction, not non-fiction, contemporary, but On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous is a letter from a son to a mother who cannot read. Written when the speaker, little dog, is in his late 20s. The letter unearths a family history that began before he was born. A history whose epicenter is rooted in Vietnam and spans to Hartford, Connecticut, and serves as a doorway into parts of his life his mother has never known. All of it leading to an unforgettable revelation. At once a witness to the fraught and undeniable love between a single mother and her son, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous is also a brutally honest exploration of race, class, and masculinity, asking questions central to our American moment. Immersed as we are in addiction, violence, and trauma, but ungirdled by compassion and tenderness, it is as much about the power of telling one's own story as it is about the obliterating silence of not being heard. This is not a big book at all. Like, this is very thin. This is not something that's going to take me a ton of time to read. But it just, it sounds like so hard-hitting, and I am a hard-hitting girl. Like, I love hard-hitting contemporaries. I feel like those are so, like, I get so much more out of those than I do, like, something that's light. Like, when I read something, I want to kind of expand my depths of what it means to be human and my understanding of what it means to be human, and I feel like lighter contemporaries don't really do that for me, and they don't, like, really stimulate me mentally and emotionally the way something hard-hitting does. So I'm definitely a person who loves hard-hitting. Another book that's been going around that I just absolutely had to get was In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a female romance about how women who are in female romances can also experience abuse. Because abuse is kind of something like that is a thing even in female-female romances, and that's not something that we necessarily give a ton of attention to. So this kind of goes into that. I've heard so many amazing things about that. So many people love this book. So many people are obsessed with this book. And I am just really excited because I just feel like this is going to be brilliant and amazing. So another book like that I've seen pretty much absolutely everywhere is The Last True Poets of the Sea by Julia Drake. This book right here, the Larkin family isn't just lucky, they persevere. At least that's what Violet and her younger brother Sam were always told. When the Lyric sank off the coast of Maine, their great-great-great-grandmother didn't like the rest of the passengers. No, Fidelia swam to shore, fell in love, and founded Lyric, Maine, the town Violet and Sam returned to every summer. But Rex seemed to run in the family. Tall, funny, musical Violet can't stop partying with the wrong people, and one beautiful summer day, brilliant, sensitive Sam attempts to take his own life. Shipped back to Lyric while Sam is in treatment, Violet is haunted by her family's missing piece, the lost shipwreck she and Sam dreamed of discovering when they were children. Desperate to make amends, Violet embarks on a wildly ambitious mission: locate the Lyric, which has lain hidden in a watery grave for over a century. She finds a fellow wreck hunter in Liv Stone, an amateur local historian whose sparkling intelligence and guarded gray eyes make Violet ache in an exhilarating new way. Whether or not they find the Lyric, the journey Violet takes and the bridges she builds along the way may be the start of something like survival. Epic, funny, and sweepingly romantic. So I've heard about like this a lot. Like not everybody who's read this has given it high ratings, but it sounds like just another hard-hitting thing because, you know, I'm all about that. So one of my most anticipated books for January I ended up getting was The Silence of the Stars by Tara Sim. This book is a gender bend on the Count of Monte Cristo. So we have a female who is taking revenge, and this is supposed to be a duology. This is the first one. I'm so excited. I really, there's just, like I said, there's just so many books that I really want to get to, and I'm slowly getting to them. But another book, I ended up getting like this for 50% off at Barnes & Noble. It's called The Best Lies by Sarah Liu, and I've heard so many people talking about this. Like, they have been raving about this book. I felt alive in a way I hadn't in a long time. Maybe ever. Looking at Elise, her long hair whipping in the wind, I remember thinking that was the start of an adventure, the beginning of the rest of my life. We were forest fire, wild and full of rage. We were a galaxy unto ourselves, a million stars, blazing bright. Everything was possible then. This is supposed to be a thriller and a mystery. I think one of them goes missing. Remy Talsey used to know how her story would turn out, but now she doesn't even know what tomorrow will look like. She was happy once. Remy had her boyfriend Jack and Elise her boyfriend, her soulmate who understood her better than anyone else in the world. But now Jack is dead, shot through the chest, and it was Elise who pulled the trigger. Was it self-defense or something deeper, darker than anything Remy could have imagined? As the police investigate, Remy does the same, sifting through her own memories, looking for a scrap of truth that could save the friendship that meant everything to her. Told in alternating timelines, this twisted psychological thriller explores the dark side of obsessive friendships. So I'm really excited. I think this is going to be so good. And I love, can we just admire like this cover for a second? I don't know, I just love this cover. So another book that I've been looking at for a really long time was Cursed by Frank Miller and Thomas Wheeler. This is actually another book that I found at Barnes & Noble for 50% off. This book is usually $24.99 and I got 50% off plus my discount, which is amazing. Frank Miller, I believe, is the same one that does the artistry for Sin City, but they are going to also be making a Netflix original series out of this as well. And this is kind of like a darker retelling of King Arthur, but if King Arthur was a girl. Oh, I'm so excited. This actually is beautiful. Like, this has a lot of like really cool black and white illustrations in this. So we see a lot of that in this, but the end pages are just absolutely everything. I just love these end pages. If you guys have seen anything with Sin City, Sin City is pretty much all black and white for the most part. You have a little sword on the front of this also, which is really pretty. But yeah, so we have just a ton of like illustrations in this, like all the way throughout. Born in the dawn to pass in the twilight is kind of like the tagline for this. But I wanted to get this so that I could, you know, read the book before the series came out so I can kind of talk about it. And I think there's going to be more for these, but it was gorgeous and I could not resist. You guys should know me by now, like that I cannot resist beautiful books. So I ended up, I figured like that I wanted to get two copies of this, but like now I've kind of been doubting myself because I loved the first one so much, but I've been hearing some bad things about it, and I've kind of like hope like that I end up loving it, because if not, I'm gonna be very upset. So I ended up getting Heart So Fierce and Broken, the regular edition, so that I could annotate it, and then the Barnes & Noble edition because I wanted it so bad, and I've been hearing like not so great things about it, so I'm kind of like a little worried, I'm not gonna lie. I hope that I end up loving it. This is a sequel to A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which is a twist on a Beauty and the Beast retelling in kind of like another dimension. And we have Harper, who's our main character, who has multiple sclerosis, which was kind of like really cool, like to see that. And she wasn't like the cliche Belle, like she didn't like absolutely love reading. She loved horses, which is also like a little bit thing. But this is supposed to be mainly about Gray, and we love Gray. I hope I love it. Please wish me luck. Also got a few wonderful, beautiful Christmas presents from some of my booktube friends that are just, I'm just so excited for it. And like you guys, like, oh my god, I actually like was so touched that I received some things like from my online friends, because you know, like I was very isolated for like a long time, and I, you know, like I was trying to get out of my shell like a little bit, and so like I feel like this community's like really helped me with that, so I'm so excited, and thank you guys so much for this. But I ended up, Dragon from Backless Books ended up sending me Anne of Green Gables, and these are so beautiful, and I've been wanting this series for so long, and there was actually like a different collection like that I was looking at, but these ones are so much more pretty. So this has like all of the books like with her in Avonlea, so I'm just gonna go through and show them to you guys like really quick, because they are actually cloth bound, which is gorgeous. Alright, I have Anne of Green Gables, I have Anne of Avonlea, I have Anne of the Island, Anne of Windy Poplars, Anne's House of Dreams, Anne of Ingleside. And we actually have a cloth bound journal in here, which I really love because it's actually a blank page journal. And I feel like this is maybe like for, you know, like your private collection, like to kind of like write either your reactions or like, you know, just a beautiful journal in general. But these books are like absolutely perfect. This set, like between like that and you know, like the other gift like that I was shown, like I was given, like, which I'm going to show you guys here in just a few minutes, I was just so touched by how wonderful like this community has been like to me, and I was just so touched by like the gifts and everything. And so I just wanted to say thank you so much to the people like that sent me Christmas presents, because you guys are just so amazing, and it just like just made me like, you know, I was just so touched. It was just so wonderful. Thank you so much. You guys have no idea how much this means to me, like your friendship and everything else. Honestly, like I am happy like with or without the gifts. I don't care about the gifts, but like you guys have just been so wonderful. Thank you guys so much, and this is so going to be like part of my permanent collection, and I cannot wait to read these. So we got a few more. 12 Months of April, wonderful girl. You guys should definitely go check her out as well. I left a link for Backless Books. You guys should definitely check them out. They are wonderful dynamic duo, and they are also, I'm also going to leave their links in the description below. But 12 Months of April also was so kind to send me a couple Christmas presents, and I'm very excited. She's just very sweet. So this is the collector's edition of Crooked Kingdom, the UK collector's edition. This is on my wish list for Book Depository, and she was just so kind. This book is so beautiful. Like I've been wanting this book. I have the first one, but I didn't have the second one, and so thank you so much, April. Like this is so beautiful, and I'm so happy. The other book that she got me is Deep Light by Frances Harding. This book is gorgeous. I'm obsessed. This is just so beautiful. And we also have these beautiful pen pages as well. On the jumbled streets of the island of Lady Crave, live Hark and his best friend Jelt, they are scavengers living off their wits, diving for relics of the gods, desperate for anything they can sell. But now there is something restless stirring beneath the waves, calling to someone brave enough to retrieve it. Something valuable, something dangerous. Nothing is quite as it seems when the waves try to claim Jelt. Hark will do anything to save him and the islands that he loves, even if it means a death-defying journey into the strange dark light of the undersea, to face not only who his friend has become, but what. Oh, it sounds so good. Thank you so much, April. 12 Months of April, remember that name. So that is pretty much what I got for Christmas. I think I got everything. Now, Book of the Month. I ended up getting some stuff from Book of the Month also because I am a subscriber for the Book of the Month Club, but I ended up getting a few things. I ended up getting The Glittering Hour by Iona Gray, and this is an unforgettable historical novel about true love found and lost and secrets we must keep from one another. I there were so many good books like that were on Book of the Month for the month of December, and I had to have them. Like, I was just so excited. So actually no, this was for, sorry, this is January, I believe, right? No, I'm sorry, this is, well, this book's from December, yes. So I got this in December. We also have a thriller. This is called The Wives by Taryn Fisher. Taryn Fisher is this person who is supposed to be very renowned for thrillers, and this particular one is about this woman who has a husband who has multiple wives, and she's aware that he has multiple wives, but she's never met any of them. So one day she kind of gets intrigued, and she goes off and she meets this woman, and come to find out her husband is also married to this other woman. So there's kind of a polygamous sort of thing going on here, but this woman's husband that she meets is very abusive, and the main character, the man that she knows, is not abusive at all. So this kind of have a psychological thriller element to it, and when I heard about this, I was just very intrigued. So I ended up definitely having to have it. So this is from the month of December as well. This is called Dear Edward by Anne Napolitano. This has been going around. This is another fiction book, and it says, what does it mean not just to survive but to truly live? One summer morning, 12-year-old Edward Alder has his beloved older brother, his parents, and 183 other passengers board a flight to New Hawk, headed for Los Angeles. Among them are Wall Street wonderkind, a young woman coming to terms with an unexpected pregnancy, an injured veteran returning from Afghanistan, a business tycoon, and a free-spirited woman running away from her controlling husband. Halfway across the country, the plane crashes, and Edward is a sole survivor. There's more to it than that, but it just sounded so amazing. So once again, there was just so many great books. And then we have also another book called by Miranda Popke, Topics of Conversation. This is actually an essay kind of nonfiction book. This is her very first novel. Miranda Popke writes of desire, disgust, motherhood, loneliness, art, pain, feminism, anger, envy, and guilt in language that sizzles with intelligence and eroticism. The novel is composed almost exclusively of conversations between women, the stories they tell each other, and the stories they tell themselves about shame and love, infidelity, and self-sabotage, and careens through 20 years in the life of an unnamed narrator hungry for experience and bent on upending her life. So this sounded so good. This is so thin. It's maybe 200 pages, but I was so intrigued by it. I've heard so many amazing things. And this is the last book that I have to haul. I know this has been a long road, and there was a lot of books in here, but we had 2 months to go over. When We Were Vikings by Andrew David MacDonald. This is a book that I've seen around a lot, and I do mean a lot. And it's sometimes life isn't as simple as heroes and villains. For Zelda, a 21-year-old Viking enthusiast who lives with her older brother, Gert, life is best lived with some basic rules. 1. A smile means thank you for doing something small that I liked. 2. Fist bumps and dabs equal respect. 3. Strange people are not appreciated in her home. 4. Tomatoes must go in the middle of the sandwich and not get the bread wet. 5. Sometimes the most important things don't fit on lists. But when Zelda finds out that Gert has resorted to some questionable and dangerous methods to make enough money to keep them afloat, Zelda decides to launch her own quest, her mission to be legendary. It isn't long before Zelda finds herself in a battle that tests the reach of her heroism, her love for her brother, and the depth of her Viking strength. When We Were Vikings is an uplifting debut, but an unlikely heroine whose journey will leave you wanting to embark on your quest of your own, because after all, we are all legends of our own making. And I heard that the main character in this is actually autistic. It just sounds so incredible. Like I said, Book of the Month has been doing so well with all of their books. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you guys want to buddy read any of these, let me know. I'm obsessed with books, and it shows in my book hauls that pretty much whatever spare money I have ends up going to books, which I have absolutely no shame for, because they make me happy, and I'm, and I'm enjoying the worlds that I get to explore, and I love surrounding myself with all of it. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like this video, hit the little like, hit subscribe, hit the little bell icon if you guys want to receive emails every single time I post. I'm also on Amazon, Goodreads, Twitter, and oh God, I can't think. Anyway, the links are linked in the description below. I'm so glad you guys joined me. Have a wonderful night, and I'll see you guys later.